But gosh, I've been so busy. So let me catch up. So some of you may have noticed this band-aid on my finger here, and I also posted a picture on my Instagram. But basically what happened, I was hedging my bushes with a bush trimmer, and my arms got tired, and I don't know if I dropped it or tried to pick it up or was bringing it down, but I just got tired and nicked my finger, and I got few stitches in here, and this one got cut. Uh, and for everyone that uh, left a message on Instagram, thank you so much. This is healing up pretty nicely. It still hurts to kind of push on it, and I don't have. It's still numb on the tip here, so I don't know if I'll ever get feeling back in my fingertip over here. It'll probably just be scar tissue and stuff, and I might get the stitches out tomorrow. They're gonna look at it and see if it's ready. I don't feel like it's ready because I feel like if they take the stitches out, it's just gonna open up again because it was pretty deep cut right into my fingerprint. Wow, it really freaking hurt, and it set me back a few days of doing stuff that I wanted to get done this week. I was trying to get all of my product reviews done this week so I can get back to like some normal stuff. And I've started declining product reviews. Uh, I haven't accepted any new product reviews really in the last 2 weeks, and they've been coming in like one after another. I just can't do it. It's too much. I mean, there's some neat stuff time to time that I want to do, but I just emailed them back and I said I can't do it. You have to wait a month or two, and then by then the momentum is gone, right? Uh, and it doesn't seem like you guys are that interested in the product reviews anyway. I mean, I'm lucky to get a few hundred hits on them, but ironically, my personal feeling is that a lot of these products are actually very, very useful in your photography. Um, lighting is always useful, and I like to show different options. Like I did the Fresnel lens, I did that little travel spotlight video light to go, and uh, I forget some other stuff too. The articulating arm, which I really love the articulating arm on my tripod. These are all really useful things and not terribly expensive, relatively speaking. Like I said, I spent like $80 about $70 on a tank of gas the other day. And that extension arm is only $60, and the battery charger, that was pretty cool. These are very low cost items and, not worth the time that I invest in them technically, right? Um, but anyhow, I still have 3 lenses, a flash trigger, and a little smoker machine, which is kind of cool. I still got to do these 3 this week. I want to try and get 3 done in the next couple days. I've gotten most of the images that I want to take with the lenses done, except for the one for the Sony. And uh, the other stuff I haven't even started yet because, like I said, this thing kind of set me back a couple days, and it's been a little bit of a drag, right? Because you just how motivated can you get when your finger is hurting? And they gave me painkillers. I only took that the first day, and then I just kind of grin and bared it after that. I don't like to take things if I can help it. But oh yeah, and as for all of the other health issues I kind of talked about a little bit, everything is working out just fine, and I'm going to be fine. It's something that can be managed. Uh, it's just getting old, right? And not living right sometimes, I guess, not doing things right. So I need to manage my diet basically, which I thought I've been doing well, but I haven't. So I need to work on that. But uh, and thanks everyone that's emailed me and wish me well on that. it's in your prayers. It's all worked out. So I'm feeling about 90% now. Whereas like in March, gosh, definitely in early March, I was probably down to about 50, 60% of capacity in terms of how I was feeling. I'm back to about 90% where I can go out for a few hours and not be drained and be able to not totally fatigued and dead after that. So I went out for about 3 hours yesterday and I spent another hour, having breakfast. And then after that, I was feeling really good. Uh, so that's a relief, because how where your brain goes when you start to kind of not feel right. You know, everything you look up online, what is this symptom? What is this symptom? Everything leads to cancer. And you're like, come on, really? And it's not. Usually it's just something else, that can be managed. So anyhow, that's enough about me. Let me go into the chat. Where's my chat window? There we go. Um so we need to go to, man, I need to go about 10 minutes into it where the audio came back on and you guys started leaving some comments. Oh, Robin is here. Hey, Robin, Plato, Jeff Painter, Roger, uh, and Lasse, good to see you. Bungie Farms, talk about camera settings. Okay, here's a question already, so I'll leave this up. Let me go through the rest. Paul Sutton, oh, good to see you, Paul. Paul and I actually, we also connect on another forum at Joe Edelman's Tog Knowledge site. And I'll have to talk about that more one day. I don't know why I haven't talked about Joe Edelman more. He's really been a great inspiration, and I think he's probably one of the best educators, uh, out there on YouTube. And he's recently, I think, pulled off of YouTube altogether. He may drop in time to time, but I think he's done with YouTube. Not because he got burnt out or anything, but this guy is the most high energy person you'll ever meet. Uh, but he just wants to do different things. But he's still very active in his own community on Tog Knowledge, and the resources there available, and the help and the support that he gives. I mean, I don't know how he does it. The guy has 10 times the energy I do, and and again, it's one of those things where it's a lot of I connect with him very well, even though he can be very, very harsh, right? But I still connect with him pretty well, and I consider him sort of my virtual mentor when it comes to my photography. You know, uh, but anyway, it's good to see you here, Paul. And if there's anyone else here that's part of the Tog Knowledge community, just leave a note in the comments section. I'd love to know if there's anyone else here from that. But one day I'll talk about that. Maybe I can get him on to come as a guest if he's interested. I don't know if he would be interested in being here uh, with me, but if you can connect with his style of mentoring and teaching, there's definitely a lot to be gained. It's a lot of people don't connect. With like a lot of people don't connect with me. It's not Joe or me or anyone else. It's a matter of two people connecting and understanding each other. One being able to convey questions and one being able to convey an answer. And these two things need to mesh correctly, right? There's a lot of data points, I guess, psychologically, where you find something that works for you. So Joe has worked for me quite well. Um, and Alan Woodard, thank you. Always worth the wait. I appreciate that. Uh, and Darko says, so I went out yesterday and did okay. Let me stop right here at 9:31 a.m. So 10 minutes behind. Let me see what Swanji says. Talk about in-camera settings for macro and sunlight. So I'm going to assume you mean in natural light, like without using flash. And uh, generally speaking, um, I think you're asking about exposure settings. They're really no different than doing exposure for any other type of scene. So I don't know what I can add to uh, this question other than just use. Generally speaking, though, you want to be in full manual if you're going to be stacking, right? Images or bracketing images for stacking later. That way, the exposure is the same on every shot. So use a full manual and just use the EV meter and maybe histogram, but just look at the live view and make sure that the subject, whether it's a bug or a flower, is exposed the way you want it to when you're doing your manual settings. And then take the shot. So I'm sorry, I can't add much more to that. But honestly, the settings for macro in terms of exposure are no different than setting for anything else that you would do. Just make sure your subject is exposed properly, watch your highlights and shadows, and if they're where you want them to be, because sometimes you want the shadows to be completely crushed black, and other times you want them, recovered in post. So in that case, you want to make sure that you have enough information in the shadows, meaning it's bright enough. I wouldn't underexpose shadows more than 1 or 2 stops on a Micro Four Thirds camera to get a nice clean recovery. And then highlights, you just have to be careful of clipping. So uh that's what I would say about that. I wish, if you need, if I'm not getting your question correct, feel free to ask me again. But thank you for the question. And let's see. And okay, Darko says, so went out yesterday and did more practicing with the Nikon D500. Yeah, I really lusted after that camera back when I was shooting Nikon. I think I bought the D750 instead. Instead of going for the D500 because I wasn't really into wildlife back then. I enjoyed it casually. Even now, I'm not a huge wildlife person, right? But I watched the demos of the D500, and I watched Matt Granger, the Nikon guy. I think I forget when he changed the channel to his name, but uh, and all the usual suspects that would talk about the D500. And I was coming off of a D7100, which is a terrific camera, but it broke. So I had to replace it with something, and I was debating D500 or D750. And I think I went, obviously I went with the D750, um, and don't have any regrets about that. But the D500 is certainly, I think, a legendary camera for Nikon in terms of sports action wildlife. The autofocus acquisition and the speed of that camera and the 20 megapixel sensor in there was, awesome. So I'm sure you'll have a great time with that. It's still, I think they're still asking like $1,000 for that camera. So that's a testament to how good that camera is when you see the resale value. Uh, when it comes to DSLRs, right? When it comes to compact cameras, they are way overpriced, ridiculous. Oh, don't buy a compact camera unless yeah, it's like within your budget, and you just want it, right? Paul, you have long fingerprint scars. Wow. Oh man, I could have been much worse, right? I mean, I could have lost both these fingers easily had it just gone a half an inch the other way. Um, Intrigue, good to see you. And let's see. Good morning, Roger. I don't get out of the fuel station under 200 bucks. Wow. Yeah, I guess I don't know if you're in the US or not, but here in the USA, gas is I guess the cheapest of just about anywhere except, maybe where they make the oil, in those other countries. And then Rob Track, do I notice a significant increase in subscribers on? I seriously doubt it. I haven't noticed. I get about 400 or 500 new subscribers every month, and that's been kind of the pace for the last few years. And that's mostly off the old videos, right? My tutorials and things, which I do need to get back to doing. Uh, but I just don't have any new cameras. I have my OM1, which is a couple years old, and then everything else is older than that in terms of when they were released. They might be new to me, but uh, and they're not great cameras. Like I bought that Sony A7R5, the Fuji XH2. I could do tutorials on those, but I'm not a big fan of those. They're nice cameras. I'm not saying they're bad cameras. They're nice cameras, and when you can get the because they're high resolution, right? Man, when you get the lighting and the use the a lens that can resolve those megapixels, um, yeah, it's it's pretty astounding the detail you can get out of those cameras. And the autofocus certainly on the Sony is really good. Uh, much better than I need. And I'm talking about just like for taking portraits and people and things. Uh, but I haven't done enough with that camera to be able to tell you if it's better than the OM1, right? Because I usually use all my photo jobs and most, I'd say I'd use for all my paid work, 100% OM1. Uh, like if I do any events or if I do my architectural, thank goodness some jobs are coming in now. Man, it was a stretch there, but I got some photo jobs coming in, thankfully. Um, and I apparently I'm not charging enough. I'm gonna have to raise my prices because gas is so expensive. It's costing me like $20 to go to a site now, and it's not that far away. Oh, anyway, and good morning, Robert. Good to see you. Missed you again yesterday at the event. I hope everything's going well. And I hosted the photo walk for Meadowlark Gardens yesterday. It was pretty rough. The lighting was bad. It was cloudy, and people still got some great shots. I think so. Check out the photo album from yesterday. But yeah, I was struggling. And it says my 14 to 150 got fogged up. Now I can't. No, it's not worth repairing. I would. I mean, it's you can get another one like in mint condition for about $300, I think. Uh, I would just do that. And when you say fogged up, how? Like, if it's moisture, it should dry out eventually. If it's fogged up because of dust or something that got inside and stuck to the lens element, then you have to get it cleaned. That's it's not worth it because you'll get the lens back and it may not work as well as it used to. It's better, I think, to buy a new one, in my opinion, for $300. Probably cost you that much to get it repaired, to be honest. And let's see. I signed up early and can never seem to make it to the calls. Oh, okay. I think you're talking about the Tog Knowledge community. Yeah, Joe tries to schedule those, one in the afternoon, one in the evening, every other week. But and then this is about Joe. Joe pushes all my buttons in a good way, pushes me to do better, and I have to know I can improve. Yeah, definitely. I really appreciate, he's a lot like another person that's, has a lot of experience and has done well, and I think is a good teacher. Uh, well, I've never seen him actually teach. The few videos I'm talking about Tin House Studios. I guess he's got paid courses and things, but I like watching his videos because he has a certain level of experience in a different area of photography that I'll never get into, at least not at the level he's at. But I appreciate the kind of, you can kind of feel, or I get the feeling from when I watch his videos that this guy really knows what he's talking about. And again, you take everything with a grain of salt. And he's in the UK or in that area that most of the business advice or anything he gives is doesn't really apply to me as much. Uh, even if I was in that genre, it wouldn't apply to me so much. I don't know if things work differently in the UK in terms of business. Probably not too differently. There's um, London, Paris, New York, right? These are kind of the major hubs for uh, agency type work for photography, and that's way, way over my level. I'm just a jobber, I just somebody calls me and I go take a picture, right? But there's, these high end photographers, they got agencies contacting them with clients that are looking for their specific style, right? And that's that's really the only way to separate yourself anymore because everybody can take a good picture, but do you have your own style, right? That somebody would be looking for and willing to pay for. Um, but let's see. And then Terry says, I sold all my Pro Olympus gear and went full frame Nikon. Truth, I love it, but I kept my Pen F and just bought a 12. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the Nikon's making some really nice. I really like the Z8. It it's kind of it's it's kind of what's holding me back altogether between the Panasonic S1R and the Nikon Z8. I'll have to think about selling all my Sony gear, like, well, all of it. I don't have that much. I got an A7R5 and one lens, uh, or two lenses now. I bought a kit lens for it. I might have to get rid of those and go back to the L mount. I like the L mount glass. The Nikon glass is very good, but I like the L mount glass better. Uh, something about Nikon's lenses, they all technically are very good, but I don't know why. I like their older glass, the vintage stuff for what it is. Again, those are not technically perfect lenses, but they're cheap and they have some character. But the new S glass, I don't know. I got mixed feelings. They're really expensive for what they are. Like, I feel like I can get an L mount 50 millimeter 1.8 for about half the price of a 50 millimeter 1.8 S series lens from Nikon and get better quality. It's just my gut feeling because I and that's what keeps me from Nikon right now is the lenses are just a little bit overpriced for me relative to what I think I'm getting. And my buddy Walter, he shoots Nikon Z9, 28 to 72.8. He buys top tier glass, but he's only got like two lenses, like two zooms. I think the 28 to 70 and 70 to 200, but the 2.8 Pro S line, whatever their Pro glass, the expensive stuff. And he gets amazing, amazing results. But that's five-figure money, right? Between the camera and lenses. Whereas I think I can get an S1R with a 51.8, even get the 24 to 105 or the 70 to 200 f4 and get 99.9%, if not more, if not better, image quality from those lenses than I can from a Nikon Pro glass. But it's all we're really splitting hairs and ultimately the camera and lens is not going to improve your photography, right? Uh, so I don't even know why I fuss over these technical differences, if any. And I could be completely wrong, right, about L mount glass versus the Nikon glass. But I when I used the I had the S1R for a little while with some L mount glass. I was just so impressed with the image quality from that system. And then when I tried the Nikon, I tried a Z7 II, I tried the Z8, and I've tried yeah, I did try their 50, their 40, and also their 70 to not there's I'm sorry, 28 to 70, and also the 135 Plena. And none of the images just wowed me, you know? I don't know why. It just didn't, you know, and then that on top of the price, I was like, okay, these are good, but man, how much is that Plena? Like 2 grand? How much is the 70 to 200 or the 28 to 70? 225, it's like, holy crap, And I can get L mount glass that I felt like was equally as good for half or less than half the price. I get it. The autofocus and the sports action stuff, the S1R is not going to touch a Z9 or a Z8. So if you're more into the capability of the camera body, the Nikon makes a lot more sense, right? And then the glass, you can probably find like Tamron's coming out with some good glass for it now that's affordable, and that makes it a lot more attractive. Uh, so I don't know if I can get a Z8 closer to 2 grand instead of four, that might be a while, if ever. Because a Z8 is 4 grand. A Z7 II I can get for under 2 grand on a used market, and that might be the way to go. But I don't like the body of the Z7 II. I don't find it terribly comfortable or interesting. Aesthetically, it's not very attractive to me. And then in terms of ergonomics and handling, it's not particularly wowing me either. But especially the autofocus implementation, I mean, it works well, but something about it, I just couldn't work my way around the autofocus on it. And I don't know. Like I'm having the same problem with the Sony. I just cannot. It when you have it on all auto and everything, it works fine. But when I'm trying to like change the autofocus to do something very specific, like I want it to focus on this point, or I want it to move over here, or I want it to focus on this area. It's just because I haven't used it enough to really understand how it all works. But I was having that trouble with the Nikon. I finally figured out how to focus bracket on the Fuji. You have to put the drive in bracketing mode, the shutter mode in the bracketing, and then the bracketing settings will apply. If you take it out of shutter, put it like back in the single shot, the bracketing settings don't apply. And on the Olympus cameras, if you set your bracketing and turn it on, the shutter mode is set for you automatically, right? So it's kind of an opposite approach, right? It gets backwards from Olympus. Not that one is better than the other. It's just kind of opposite, right? If you set your you have to set your shutter mode to bracketing on the Fuji. On the Olympus, you have to set the bracketing mode. Then the shutter mode will be set automatically. So it's opposite what I'm used to. And then let's see. Well, let me go to the chat. But yeah, Terry, which Nikon did you get? I'm curious if you got the Z8. I think the Z8 is the most tempting Nikon for me. I like the handling, the ergonomics, and of course the 40 some megapixels. And if Tamron really starts coming out with a good line of lenses for it, because Tamron lenses you can get for 1,000 or less all day long in just about any focal length, right? And it's excellent glass for the money. So you add really excellent glass, maybe not as good as the Nikon S, but you add excellent glass to a very, very capable body like a Z8, I mean, we're talking, really good value here. Uh, a really amazing system, but 4 grand for a Z8, that's a little hard to swallow for me. Um, oh, wow, you lost 3 fingers on the left hand and tip off the ooh, wow, that's rough. Man, yeah, I get you learn to deal with it. Like, I've been learning to wash dishes with just 3 fingers, right? Because I can't use these 2 when I'm washing. And, so I'm thinking this is how aliens would, you know, do the dishes, right? Is with 3 fingers, because most aliens only have 3 fingers. Uh, and then this hand, so a lot of times I would just put the plate, down and wash it with one hand and hold it with my thumb this way and wash. But anyway, uh, and Roberto's here. And let's see, Marco, speaking of compact cameras, I just built a mint working stylus 1S from 2 broken ones. That's cool. That's really cool. Um, and I have a G9 II on the way if you want to borrow it for a bit of content. Oh, no, I'm gonna pass. Uh, but I appreciate that. I appreciate that. The G9 II just does not interest me. I don't find it, has any capabilities over the OM1 that I would want or need or use or take advantage of. Uh, if the autofocus and video is better, maybe I don't know. There's and the ergonomics of the G9 being the same as the S5, which I used to have, um, don't appeal to me at all. You know, so yeah, I wouldn't be a very enthusiastic. Uh, it wouldn't be a very enthusiastic video if I did get it. And like if I didn't have the OM1, I might be really excited about that camera. But because I have the OM1, it's not that the OM1 is a better camera. I would say they're pretty equal. It's just I have one that's really good already. That's why I'm not like excited about my A7R5 or XH2 because my OM1, my Pen F, all these cameras are so good. And I get it. They're not as capable in a lot of areas, or in different areas, I should say. But then the Olympus OM systems are more capable in other ways. Uh, and at least I'm more capable with them because I'm very familiar with them. So I can kind of get out and do what I want to do with those very quickly. Whereas it's so frustrating when I can't find a setting or get the setting right in the other camera because I don't know how to use it. So I need to get into it. Uh, yeah, the camera collection is getting there. Half of them are borrowed right now. David Tellett is so generous. He loaned me his let's see. This is the LX100 version 2 or Mark II. So I'm really excited about this camera. Uh, I tell you, this, and I met a person yesterday, another viewer, George, who really likes the GR3, but I think I much prefer this because it has an EVF on it. I can get by without an EVF, but if I can get one, and it's not that bad. I mean, people were complaining about the EVF on this, but once I adjusted the diopter, it's fine. I mean, it's good enough to compose the image, right? So, yeah, one of the ideas that I talked about with David was maybe doing a compact camera shootout, right? So I have the Olympus 1S, which he also loaned me, and then I have my trusty TG5, which is an awesome street camera. I got this over the X100. Back when I was looking for a compact camera, I went with the TG5 instead of the X100. I later bought an X100 something like I think the F, and then I got rid of it. I didn't like it at all. I just didn't gel with it. This LX5, I was thinking about getting an LX7, uh, but I have my XZ2, which is probably it's definitely a better camera than the LX7 in many ways. Uh, wow, it's on. Anyway, and then David gave me this EVF, which works great, by the way. Thanks. Um, this is a better camera than the LX7 in my opinion, but still, the LX7 is quite a bit smaller. It's the same size as this LX5. It's quite a bit smaller than the XZ2. See, look at the XZ2, or I'm sorry, yeah, the XZ2 next to the LX5. It's like it's substantially smaller. This is very easy to put in my pocket, and I have small pockets on some of my stuff, right? Like this will go right in my shirt pocket, no problem. This XC2, even without the EVF on it, even without the EVF, it's tight. It doesn't. I could probably jam it in there, and I'd rip a couple of stitches here, but it's tight. Whereas this little XC2, man, it just, you know, let me get it around that lip. So, but anyway, uh, and the LX7 is about the same size. So that's kind of why I like it. But then the TG5 is also much better than the LX7, and this is pocketable, even more so than the LX5. You know, it's because it's a little bit more blocky, so it doesn't have little things to catch. And this is an awesome. This is such an awesome camera. You guys have seen pictures of this on my, before that I've taken with that, and it's just amazing. But I will say the lens on the LX5 is better than the TG5. The lens on the TG5 is compromised a bit. It's a little bit soft, uh, because I think they stretched the zoom too much. They want 25 to 100. I think they should have done like 24 to 70, like a smaller range, like a 2.5 or 3x instead of a 4x zoom. And then they might have been able to squeeze a little better quality out of the lens. So what's holding this back a little bit is the lens. It's not quite as sharp as these, like the XZ2 or this LX5. Okay, let's see. Darko says, to be honest, if you want a cheap full frame, the D600 is all around good for street portrait and can use old screw drive lenses from Nikon. I would lean towards the D750 over the D600, because you get the tilt screen, and because I don't think the D600 had the tilt. I think it was fixed. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the D600 kind of had this sensor spot problem also, so you're always cleaning the sensor on that. There is a guy that really thinks the D600 images are the best, uh, but it's all personal preference. It's very subjective. Who makes the best? Who has the best color science out of camera? A few minutes or 20 seconds in Lightroom or whatever photo lab, you can adjust the color to whatever you want. Uh, just create a LUT or preset for to adjust the color science of the camera to what you prefer, and just apply that every time when you take pictures. And it's not even 20 seconds. It's like just a snap of a button. I haven't done that because I like to edit each picture individually and work with the colors. But if I was doing some kind of bulk event photography consistently and I needed presets, to get the colors to where I want very quickly, I would definitely work on a preset. But I think the D600 you can get for like 300-400 bucks right now. A Nikon D600 and a D750 for about 600 maybe. They're very, very cheap and they're really amazing cameras. Yeah, I saw you were working on that, I think, in one of your videos. You had a little Raspberry Pi, but you were talking about using it for your film cameras, like converting your film cameras to digital by putting that thing inside. So that's cool. You're still working on that, or have worked on that. And Baber says, "Hello, Rob. Went out with the GX7. Okay, I know what that is. And a 25 1.7. Took a while to get familiarized with it again, but I'd forgotten how good it was or is. Yeah, the GX7 is a cool little camera, um, and it's relatively inexpensive, for what it is. When you look at everything else, I don't know why people don't just buy Micro Four Thirds over all this other stuff because Micro Four Thirds is still reasonably priced, right, for what you get, and on the used market, I should say. Whereas everything else, these little compact cameras, with the exception of this Micro Four Thirds camera, right, everything is pretty reasonably priced. I mean, you can get a PL7, a GX7, like in the $400-500 range. Um, EM10 Mark II for about 200-300, EM5 Mark II, $400. And these are phenomenal cameras, right? Compared to other formats in that genre or in that circa, right? Uh, for what you pay. I mean, it's just insane, insane. I mean, when we're talking about mirrorless cameras, DSLRs all seem to be pretty cheap, except for the film ones. They're ridiculously expensive too. And Paul says, I had a 12 to 40 Pro that fogged up. Then I had it air conditioned room. Now it's fine. Yeah, I assume the fogging that he's talking about from before is not condensation. I think it's probably more than that. Um, if it's just condensation, then obviously, oh, wait a minute, condensation. I thought it was weather sealed. Oh, well, yeah, there's no weather sealing against condensation. Absolutely not. Condensation is in the air, right? There's just no way around it. So it's not like the lenses are weather sealed, meaning they can resist exterior water coming in, but humidity, as soon as you take the lens off the camera or put it on the camera, if anytime you take the lens off the camera, humidity and moisture gets in the lens, right? Dust, everything else. Uh, they're just not weather sealed once you take the lens off from air. Now, if it's airtight, that's a different thing, right? But no, there's no such thing as an airtight lens. They wouldn't work if they were airtight. And Jim Jones says, "I love Joe's straightforward attitude. I'm okay if it comes across harsh. He has so much. Yeah, he has a lot to offer. Yeah, I mean, we just have different personalities, right? I'm very, uh, I don't want to say melancholy, but I'm pretty laid back, and I don't get upset. And if somebody's, it's very hard for me to get annoyed with something, and I'm just a laid back person, right? And I would definitely not approach a lot of the things the way Joe does. My approach is very, very different. And but that has nothing to do with what Joe has to offer, right? Joe has so much to offer. Uh if you can, but you have to do the work too, right? You have to show that you're willing to work and put some thought. I don't know. You know what? I'm not going to say anymore because you either connect with a person or you don't. I don't want to analyze why or why not. That's the fact. Uh, I connect with him really well, and I try to do my best. Uh, in my own work, right? So doing my best, etc. Anyway, um, Robin says, I've cleaned up lenses by carefully taking them apart and cleaning the glass. Sometimes you can find disassembly instructions. On vintage lenses, I think that's okay because the cost of replacement is pretty low usually, but man, I would not do it on a modern lens. Uh, I tried it once on one of my Nikon lenses. I took it apart, put it back together. I didn't even take the lenses out. I was just taking the housing off because it was a zoom lens and I was having the zoom was a little stiff. So I said, okay, let me take the housing off and grease the heliocoil on it. I put it all back together and it would never autofocus. And it's just a simple ribbon cable. I know I detached it and put it back where it's supposed to be, but it never autofocused again. Um, how can I get notified of times you do these lives or the ones you've recorded? Well, the ones I recorded will always be on my website or I'm sorry, on my channel. But uh, notification generally Sunday mornings is when I come on my time. So every Sunday about this time, I should post them a couple days ahead of time, but I don't think I just never know if I'm gonna be able to make it every Sunday. Uh, so I hate to post something that I don't know. I've been saying it for 5 years now that I'm gonna start to post my live streams early, and I haven't done it yet. So I wish I could do it. I can't. I just can't get my act together in a lot of things. I don't know why. I just can't get my act together. I'm a lost cause. Um, but Kathy, generally speaking, Sundays about this time is when I come on. I'll try and give at least 24 hours notice. I'll try. I'll try. Because usually the night before, I know what I'm doing the next day. And if I was to drop OM, I'd go extreme opposite. I don't know if I'd go full on. I was lusting after medium format for a while. And now I'm not so much. Um, it's just such a big, heavy system, and the lenses are so expensive. And I think the return on investment in terms of even, I mean, everyone puts value on the image quality, right? Differently. I don't. I just don't see how much better the image quality would be on a. I guess I have to shoot with one and see. I don't know. I'm not gonna say I never shot a medium format, so I will hold judgment on that. Maybe you have, Eric, and you know what the difference is, right? Or you appreciate the difference. But when I can get such amazing, when I can get really amazing image quality out of like this 10 or 15 or I don't know how old this thing is, out of an LX5, I've kind of lost interest in, and it's silly. I don't know why now. Why only now I'm starting to appreciate how good all of these cameras are, regardless if it's this or Micro Four Thirds or anything compared to anything that's currently out and available. And I get it. I get it. People want the technology that makes things a lot easier, right? The autofocus in particular seems to be what everybody goes for. And you don't really need it. You don't really need it if you know what you're doing and know how to do it. Uh, for any kind of, how to, think about back in the days of DSLRs and film, even film, the kind of images people captured in sports action photography. Yeah, you had to be very highly skilled and practice a lot, but they got amazing shots. Now, today's technology makes a lot of this a lot easier, right? I can use Pro Capture and capture the exact moment that if I didn't have this, that I would never be able to do because I don't have the skill set to capture that. But that's part of the fun of photography, or part of the journey in photography is building up your skill set so that you can capture moments. Because developing the skill set is an educational process too, right? You learn a lot about your subject, right? Their behavior, their reactions, uh, well, I guess behavior kind of encompasses everything. But that's a big thing, right? Understanding the behavior of your subject, whether it's an animal, a person, a crowd of people, uh, whatever it is, a forest, whatever your subject is, right? There's a huge educational process, a lot of things you have to learn about your subject to really get a good picture of it. And I've learned so much about uh, different things, right? Like I, you know, I don't know why this sticks in my mind, but I took pictures of water bugs, and I said, let me learn about water bugs, right? Why? How is it they can walk on water? And nobody knows. They have theories about how they can walk on water, but there's no concrete scientific uh, consensus of exactly how they walk on water, and then how water bugs communicate with each other, right? They do it by making little ripples in the water with their feet, and they don't understand how they can make ripples in the water and not sink. But anyway, they make little ripples in the water, and depending on the frequency of that ripple, they can communicate that there's food nearby, that they're looking for a mate, that there's danger or a predator nearby, and a whole thing like Morse code. There's a whole other thing. So the water bug life is amazing, right? They really have their own little society going on. And then I was taking pictures of dragonflies, and then I studied dragonflies. Uh, and I'm just doing it casually. But if you really want to get good at your photography, you have to know your subject, and you get really good at taking pictures of that subject. And you'll get really amazing images, and images that will tell more of a story, right? Because when you take a picture of a creature doing something, that tells a story. But if you know what they're doing and why they're doing it, you'll know when to take the exact moment of that image, right? Uh, so, yeah, photography for me is about learning about your subject so that you can get a better picture. And I find it so fascinating, all the things that are around us. The beautiful things in nature, the insects, the animals, the plants and flowers, everything is so amazing. Uh, and time to time, I will go back and I'll research a little bit about something I took a picture of that caught my eye, and I'm just floored by the the amount of things that like blue herons and green herons. I'd studied those for, I can't remember crap now, but when I was researching them, I was so fascinated by how they can, something about the way the shape of their neck, and when they dive in, to spear a fish or capture a fish, how do they do that without getting whiplash, right? And there was some interesting video or something I read about that. And anyway, so lots of things there. So I think I've made the point. Um, let me go down. Good morning, Mike. Stormy Austin, Texas. Um, and the Z8 is 5,400 Canadian. Wow. And then Darko says, with the D500, I have AF on and single and center joystick for group dynamic focus. So quick for birds in flight. Yep. Yeah, I was always amazed at when I was looking at that camera back in the day. And Paul says, I can lend you the 150 to 600 if you want to test it on the G9. No, it's okay, Paul. I appreciate that. um, my buddy David has the 150 to 600. He'll let me borrow it. Um, the G9 though, I'm really not interested at all in trying. And then Marsha's asking, will Olympus teleextenders work with the Panasonic? I don't know. I don't know, honestly. But I wouldn't I don't yeah, I honestly I don't know. I'm sorry. uh if anyone knows, just message Marsha for me. I don't know. And then Terry says, I went back to DSLR. Okay. So D850, 200 to 500, 105 macro, and a host of other old Nikon D lenses and AIS I already own. Love the old glass look. Yeah, I can appreciate that. And the D850 is pretty cheap now. I think they're down to like 2 grand used, right? It's just way too big for me. I'm not a big fan of cameras that have the grip built in. If I did more event work and stuff, maybe, and more portrait work, but I don't I hardly do any of that. Uh, that's why I never bought like the EM1X, even though I can get one for like 600 bucks now. It's just I just don't think I'd ever use a camera that has a grip, but the vertical grip, I should say. What do I think about the EPL10? Uh, I'd recommend getting like an EM10 instead because there's no viewfinder. So for me, lack of EVF is a big deal. That's almost a deal breaker every time when it comes to interchangeable lens cameras. Even compact cameras, I much prefer an EVF than say like a TG5 that doesn't have one. If you can live without the EVF, then the EPL10 has some other limitations, right? It doesn't have as good an IBIS system as the EM10s. It doesn't have clean HDMI out, so you can't use it as a webcam. Uh, the video modes are also limited. So there's a lot of limitations there. Now, with that said, if all you want to do is take pictures, right? And you don't care about video, you don't care about, webcam use, and what was the other thing I mentioned? And you don't care about the EVF, right? Having a viewfinder, then yeah, it's fine. It's perfectly fine, right? It has the tilt screen. I think it tilts all the way down too, just like the M10 Mark IV. So you're essentially talking about something. I have an EPL8, which is great, but I broke it. But it has, my EPL8 has a similar tilt like this on it, right? And but I don't know. I don't know why are you thinking about an EPL8 or EPL10? I think I don't know if it's even 20 megapixels. It might be still 16, but it doesn't matter if it's 16 or 20. But I'd rather get a much I think the EM10 series is a much better camera for a similar price point. And yeah, I just don't see and the EM10s are nearly as compact as the PL10. Only difference being is, the EM10s have the hump, right, for the EVF. So, but it's as a stills camera, it's as good as any Olympus camera in that respect. Save for, the EM5 and OM1s. But for just regular everyday, like an everyday camera, it's perfectly fine. And hello, Thomas. Good to see you. I'm glad you can make it. And Oglo says, my new lens options have been narrowed down to two, the 45-1.8 from Ollie and the 31.4 from Sigma. Can you help me which one to pick for my EM10 Mark II? I would get the 45-1.8. I think the 31.4 is a little bit too bulky for micro four thirds, especially the M10 Mark II. It's just going to look ridiculous. So aesthetics aside, I think the lens is just too big for the camera. So I've never bought one myself. I'd much rather have a 45-1.8. That will definitely give you, much more versatility. The 30 millimeters more of a, it's a little bit tight to be kind of a general purpose lens, and that's kind of, I think, the intent. I don't consider it a portrait lens. Uh, the 45 is more of a portrait lens to me. So the 45 is a more of a portrait lens, and I think it's a better lens. It'll give you more versatility. If you need something wider, I mean, I know we're kind of sticking to the basic trinity, right? The 25 to 45 to 17 to 12. That's not a trinity, but these lenses are the primes. If you're going to go prime, I would stick to the standard genre: 17, 25, 45. 30 is just kind of an odd focal length for me, because you could use it for portraits, certainly, but you can use a 25 for portraits too. And the 25 1.8 from Olympus is amazing. The 25 1.4 from Panasonic is even better in every way, and it's smaller than the 31.4 from Sigma. So I would go 25 1.4 from Panasonic and a 45 1.8. Pick one of those two or get both. I think you should get both. But if you're going to pick one, I would get the 25 1.4 from Panasonic. It's a much more versatile lens for every day, because you can still do portraits, right? You can still do street photography, landscapes. You can do everything with a 25 millimeter. It's a really good focal length. The 45, you're going to be limited to when you need a 45. It's very, very tight. But when you need it, it's awesome, right? It's the perfect lens for what it's made for. The 30, just kind of being in between, it just is weird to me. And the size of the lens doesn't appeal to me either. So that's my recommendation: 45 1.8 or the 25 1.4. Um, and then System and Tour says, I don't believe the OMTCs will mount with the Panasonic 100 400. Unfortunately, the Pen have ceased production of the TCs for. Oh, okay. So apparently it doesn't work, Marcia. Uh, and for street photography, sharpness is not a must. That's true. I mean, honestly, is sharpness that important in anything except macro or product photography, where it's you have to really be. And I think in most photography, doesn't have to be that critical. You don't need pin razor sharp images for probably 90% or 80% of photography. Certainly in macro and maybe some paid work like product photography and stuff, sharpness is critical, right? But man, street photography, even landscape photography, or any kind of photography, the story and the image, the composition, everything else is much more important than sharpness. Um, I mean, we all love sharp images, but that doesn't mean your photography's any better, right? I don't know why I'm so cold. My fingers are really cold. Um, but yeah, I would go beyond street photography and say sharpness is not all that important, with few exceptions. Art reproduction, right? Can you suggest an exposure meter for an old Leica camera? I guess it depends. Well, I mean, they sell light meters, right? Seikonic has a few that are incident and reflective, meaning it reads the light coming towards the camera, or it reads the light coming on, falling onto the subject. So I think if you're doing portrait type work, you want to read the light falling onto the subject. If you're doing landscape photography, you want to read the light that's more reflective and that's coming from the subject to the camera. So you probably want to get a light meter, and they're about 300. Well, no, they're probably closer to $500 for a decent one, even used. 600 or more. I don't, I haven't shopped light meters in a while, but you want to get a reflective light meter, right? Something that reads the light coming off of the subject, or coming into the camera, I should say, and reflecting back from the subject. And then maybe use an average, right? Because film is very flexible. You don't have to be there. Uh, you don't have to be that accurate. I mean, I use this. If you don't need that kind of precision, right? I mean, ultimately, these these high end light meters are the best, right? But if you don't need that kind of precision, I have this little Astahori, and there's other versions of this that clip into the hot shoe of your camera. I did a review on this one. This will just give you an average, reflective meter reading, and it's close enough for film. I use this all the time when I'm doing film shots in black and white, and it's never let me down, in terms of getting the exposure right. And by the time I scan the film in and make some minor adjustments, because film is very flexible, not slide film, but regular negative film is very flexible, and this will get you close enough, right? And then once you have kind of the exposure correct, right? Say based off this, you don't have to refer to this all the time and keep adjusting your settings. You get a feel for. I mean, I assume you're an experienced photographer, but I found that assuming the light doesn't change a lot, if I'm just out walking around, I'll get a feel for the exposure and I can look at a scene and say, okay, that's about a stop darker. That's two stops darker. So once I have kind of that base exposure, I don't really have to use this that much after I get a few shots in. But I'll use it maybe to get the initial exposure. Um, just another way to do it is just to carry a second camera with you, a digital camera, and take a shot and see what the settings are. Right? I've done that before. But if you just want to go out with only your film camera, uh, one of these is fine. This is only like $69, I think, something like this. And you can find these on Amazon. Uh, Seconic makes one too. There's all kinds of little, like, very, very basic light meters like that, which I think are good enough for film. And Wayne says, I bought a Pen EPM1 with two kit lenses, two batteries for. Yeah, I know, right? They're cheap. What is the worst in condensation in a dive housing? Oh, yeah. Phone app meter. Oh, duh. That makes sense too, right? You can use your phone. Uh, definitely another option. I'm not a big fan of using my phone for much other than texting and, well, really, I only use my phone to answer calls and occasionally I'll use an app like Google Maps, but I don't use it much for texting. I actually text from my computer a lot. They sell lens heaters to stop fogging. Yes. Yeah, dew heaters. We use that a lot actually in astrophotography. Um, they're just little wraps around your lens and USB powered. Hey Rob, curious what camera and lens this AM. Sometimes you switch. Ooh, what time was this? I don't know. Not sure what you mean. I'm sorry, Gordon. I've been messing around with so many different cameras. I don't know which one you mean. Let's see. You should not be struggling with the 100 to 400 Olympus. That zoom is pretty smooth. I would get that checked. And Jeff, hey Jeff, how are you? Don't forget the thumbs up. I appreciate that. Um, wow, why am I back to? Let's see. I bought an old Minolta Studio light meter that tethers to Studio Flash and used 7 years ago. It was 400K. Yeah, Minolta made good stuff. Just you have to be careful with really old light meters, because the light the meter sensor itself can get kind of out of calibration, and you'll have to make adjustments for it. So you have to kind of calibrate it manually and make it, it can they yeah, and a lot of them don't work anymore. Uh, it's best just to buy a new one if you can. But sometimes simpler is better, right? Something like this is simple, especially if you're talking about film. You don't really need very sophisticated metering. Um, and Darko says the Revany meter on the hot shoe is awesome. Okay, not familiar with that one. And this makes sense, Robbie. You have the G85, great little camera. I almost bought one myself. And that, this is part of the story when I talk about when I went and got my first Olympus camera, the M10 Mark II, and I was looking at the Fuji X-T10. Oops, somebody's here. The Fuji X-T10 right next to it. Um, I was shopping for a G85, right? Um, but the camera store didn't have one on the shelf. So I was looking at the EM10 and Fuji. Let me go check who's at the door. I'll be right back. We'll I'll play a little video in the meantime. Oops, sorry. I forgot she could get in.
What we do is I've helped some of your neighbors get a new roof or new siding.
Oh, okay.
You got a discontinued shingle up there on the roof. I see you're at home. It's a Sunday afternoon.
I
need you to come out.
I'm working right now.
Okay.
I can, because I work from home.
Oh, okay.
So, but I just replaced this thing like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was an older shingle. That's what drew my attention.
Oh, well, I'm not changing it or doing anything to it if it's only 5 years old. So,
right.
So,
well, I wanted this. The only thing why I wanted to go was to see if you even had hail or wind damage, and it could get replaced because of that.
Right. No, I can't do it.
Who's your insurance carrier?
I don't even know, to be honest.
Oh, but yeah. Who does know?
They
always know.
Well, I don't have a mortgage, so.
Oh, you paid your house off. Oh,
yeah.
I hear that too often.
Yeah, I'm debt free, so
Yeah, that's you
no
smart
house
man.
payment, no car payment. That's why I drive a 20-year-old car. But anyway, I gotta go. I'm
Yes, sir.
I'm
Thank you.
online.
Thank you,
All
Mr.
right,
for your time.
take care. All right. God, never answer the door. Did you guys hear all of that? I didn't realize the mic was still on. But anyway, yeah, why? The guy wants to replace my roof. He said my shingles are expired. I said I just changed the roof 5 years ago. Why would I? Anyway, let me. Where's the chat window? So I was talking about that G85. Yeah, that sounds like the way to go. And yeah, definitely the Panasonic menus are one of the best, if not the best. If I had to rank menus, I'd say Panasonic is right up. I'd say Canon. Well, Canon and Panasonic are really close in terms of, for me anyway, that work for me. And then OM Systems, the new OM system menu is very good. And then down from there, right? Then it's, Nikon is not bad. Then I would go to Sony. Sony and Fuji are dead last. They're kind of tied for last in terms of menus. They are the worst. They're so bad. Oh, you guys did hear this because you're seeing everything here. Scam, scam, scam. Yep. um, anyway, yeah, he was. Oh, so you guys did hear all of that. That's funny. So, yeah, anyway, roofers. Uh, Let me go back to a little bit in the chat here. Minolta still makes glass for lenses. Really? They don't make fully made lens, but the glass still. I didn't know that. That's interesting. I thought Minolta was totally out. Like they sold off that name to somebody, and now some manufacturers just cranking out all this crap cameras with the Minolta name on it. Looking forward to more of your photo walks. The 75 mm series was great, and your work series, the laundromat shooting was great. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's the last few jobs I've had, I haven't been able to bring a camera with me to vlog it because of the clients are there, or customers, they're active businesses. Like the one that I got to do this week, I got two new jobs. Both of them are open for business, so I can't vlog, and that's unusual. Usually the buildings are empty, and I can uh, vlog while I'm, show you what I actually do for a living time to time. I can't say I really do it for a living anymore because I haven't had that many jobs lately. So I'm between jobs or retired, however you want to look at it. And just say no. Yeah, I know. That's why I don't like to answer my door. I mean, remember, there was a time when I was young, right? Like when I was a little kid, somebody would knock on my door and I'd be like, "Oh man, let's go." I'd be running to it. Who's here, right? I'd be excited. And then usually it's a friend or something. You go out. Now, man, somebody knocks on my door. I'm like, "Who the F is that? What? I just why? I never answer my door. They either doing a survey, trying to sell you something, scam you, or it's a delivery. So if it's a delivery and I have to sign for something, then that's why I have to check, right? But I got all my security cameras everywhere. That's what I should have done. Is I should have checked my camera. I didn't even think of that. Anyhow, Thanks, Rob, for taking the time as your friendly neighborhood pro. Very knowledgeable and experienced, yet so down. I try. I try, Robbie. Like I said, when I can connect with a viewer, if you guys connect with how I teach or how I talk about things or the advice I give, always take it with a grain of salt. Though, do your own due diligence and double check everything. Because I'm human and I get things wrong all the time. You know what I mean? I can be wrong or whatever. So, but I try. I try. Um, interesting. Note the last time I checked was making the Pro JVC camcorders, and it was rumored they made glass for the 35 to 100. Interesting. Put up a no solicitation sign. I got beware of dog signs. I don't know how many more. I got beware of dog, and I got security system signs. Man, if I put up another sign, I'm gonna look totally xenophobic, man. So I'm gonna have beware of dogs. This house protected by security. This house has security cameras. And then have another sign, no solicitors. What else can you put up for signs? And then maybe have a gate out front and a moat in front of that. Honestly, I wouldn't mind that if I could afford it. I would love to put up a gate and a moat with a drawbridge and just say, and draw that thing up when I don't want anybody to come over. You're the go-to Sunday morning showman, the best because you're real. I am a real person. I'm a real boy, right? Protected by Smith and Wesson. That's a good one. That's a good one. But then that makes your house a target, right? Because people are always trying to break in and steal people's stuff. Um, but okay, I think you guys. I'm gonna call it here. What do you guys think? I think I should. I should. G85 was my first M43 camera. Lots of fun. Yeah. Door-to-door salesman. Yeah, I know. So I'm going back to the stuff. I Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do this week. I have to get some lens reviews out done. The you know, the I have to get so I'm gonna do a tilt shift lens review, another lens review, that the new Viltrox 56 1.4, and then I got another lens. I think it's been announced, but I have to hold back on that. And then I got the smoker review, and I got God, what's the other? Oh, the flash trigger. That's a really cool. I'm really happy with this thing. So all of it's really good stuff. And then that may be it for a while because I've been saying no. I might have forgotten some things. I said okay, send it, but I just can't do any more reviews. It's just exhausting because I have to go out and take pictures for days on end and then do testing and then try to think of a reason, is this test valid, because the person that does it good is Christopher Frost. If you want to know about the technical characteristics of a lens, he's the best and he does them all. I can't compare to that. So I'm trying to think, should I make it more about the focal length and just kind of my overall, touchy feely about it? How useful is that to anyone, really, doing lens reviews like that? So I got mixed feelings about doing lens reviews in the future because I don't know if I'm really doing anybody a good service with that. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll put those out. You guys let me know what you think of the lens reviews because I don't have any micro four third lenses right now to review, but uh I'll try and get some in if they make sense. But thanks everyone for watching. I really appreciate you guys being here. I'm sorry for kind of the interruption there, but um I will be back next weekend, God willing, uh, and with hopefully a little more progress on everything else that's going on. So I'll let you know. So thanks, guys. I will catch you again soon.